So today, I'm going to be talking about MechaGodzilla. And the reason I'm talking about him is because just in general, there's just a lot of glazing for him that doesn't make much sense. And just in general, he's just not very strong. First of all, Godzilla, by the time of the MechaGodzilla fight, was at 25% at a high ball, and that's an extreme high ball, as the novel confirms that Godzilla was at 50%, as he's only able to get half rest. And not only does King of the Monsters, but also Godzilla Dominion showcase and prove that Godzilla needs radiation. Oh, there's also more things that prove that radiation correlates to Godzilla's power. But Godzilla needs radiation to stay strong, and he gains radiation by sleeping. Yes, he'll do other things if he quickly needs it, but if he's just in general just trying to sleep it through and power up, that's what he does. He sleeps, he rests, and he gains radiation that way. So if he's only at half rest, that means he only got half the power that he needs, half the radiation. And then it is also confirmed that Godzilla is at half strength by the time of MechaGodzilla, as well as Kong. So that's a 50% Kong and a high ball 25% Godzilla. And I'm going to be showcasing some clips and just showing you some things that prove, in my opinion, and if we're honest, it's just true if you're not trying to be a biased dumbass, MechaGodzilla just isn't that strong. And the first clip that I'm going to show and talk about is Godzilla overpowering MechaGodzilla at the start of their fight. And this is a scene a lot of people tend to forget or not really think about, since it's at the start and people more watch the scenes of Godzilla getting his ass beat. And yeah, so this is the clip. As you can see, Godzilla did overpower MechaGodzilla. They ran at each other, and MechaGodzilla got sent back while Godzilla didn't move at all. He turned a little bit, but he wasn't pushed back. And MechaGodzilla was. So while at 25%, extremely highballed, and I'll explain more of that near the end, he was able to physically overpower MechaGodzilla. And now this next scene, as you're going to see here in a second, pay close attention to MechaGodzilla. He's steaming up, right, while doing this beam battle. And then he has to boost it to even win the atomic breath fight while fighting a 25% Godzilla. And pay attention to his chest, okay? You see how there wasn't a mark there, not a burn mark, there wasn't anything there to indicate. If that atomic breath scene wasn't there, right? That battle wasn't there. It cut straight from whatever Kong was doing to MechaGodzilla doing that. You would never even have an idea that anything else happened. You would just assume that MechaGodzilla's still been throwing him around. You wouldn't think that he got hit in the chest by an amped proton scream, you know? And this is one of his, worst feats, is that he was struggling to the point where he was beginning to smoke against an extremely weakened Godzilla's atomic breath. And then once he amped it, and he had to have amped it by at least 2 times, given it was able to immediately overpower Godzilla's atomic breath. And after doing this, there's just nothing on Godzilla. And then there's also another shot at the end of the fight, well, the end of the movie, that shows Godzilla's chest. And guess what? No fucking marks to even think of. And this is mainly sad because Kong was able to leave bruises on Godzilla. The Mutos were able to easily cut through Godzilla. Ghidorah, we all know what happened to Godzilla there. Even Shimo was able to leave more cuts and damage on Godzilla. And for a terrible, and I mean terrible, durability feat, notice how Kong's axe is easily slicing through MechaGodzilla. And this is an axe that's been charged for a few seconds by an extremely weakened Godzilla's atomic breath. It was able to easily cut through him, cutting off his arm and his leg, and then doing whatever the fuck that was. And then notice how the same axe, after being charged by Godzilla's atomic breath multiple times while he was stronger, and was being charged from within the hollow earth, barely cut into Godzilla's leg. Like, most of the front of it went into Godzilla, but it didn't cut through him. After the atomic breath scene, you see Godzilla's leg and it's scarred up already, which is just more Godzilla's healing factor, but also shows that it didn't cut that deep. And this was an way more charged axe than MechaGodzilla even knew existed. And yet the much weaker one was able to easily slice through MechaGodzilla. That same axe likely would have barely penetrated Godzilla's skin, pause, no diddy. But yet, to MechaGodzilla, it's able to do that. And notice, again, look at his chest. You couldn't see it much for long there, but he doesn't have any marks on him. He has a black eye, barely, and that's it. That's wrong. Earlier, when Godzilla does go to charge up Kong's axe, he has a cut on his shoulder, and I believe a cut on his lower neck area. And that's all he has. From a roughly 6 to 7 minutes of only MechaGodzilla taking or giving hits, it was only Godzilla only had a couple cuts and a black eye. Now, this doesn't really matter, but watch this interview and then I'll discuss it after.
Like different fights, alternate versions and stuff. That was probably the hardest fight to choreograph in the entire movie because, we were trying to figure out like what makes MechaGodzilla, like what are the cool things we can have him do. And ultimately, the fight ends up being a bit more one-sided, and we kind of ended up just going in the direction of MechaGodzilla is really designed to kick Godzilla's ass, and he's able to really do some pretty amazing stuff once he's fully charged. But originally, that fight had a lot more back and forth, between the two of them, and but it just didn't feel right. It never worked. Like Godzilla had a couple more, hits in on MechaGodzilla, but it kind of just didn't work for whatever reason. So the version you see is a bit more one-sided. But
the reason I brought that up was because it shows that originally MechaGodzilla was going to be weaker than he was shown in the movie. And the only reason why he looks this strong was just through director bias and preferring it to look that way, which is fair. I'm not going to use that as a feat. That didn't happen, so no. While at the state he was in, he could have never gone blow to blow with MechaGodzilla. The plot might have been different too. I think that was just more interesting that a lot of people probably don't know about. And I just wanted to show you guys that. And if you made it this far in the video, let me know your thoughts and if you think you would have preferred that. I think the perfect thing to have done was have the start be back and forth. Like that first little scene, like the first scene we see them fight, if that part was back and forth, but then when it cuts, we see MechaGodzilla gaining the upper edge, and then after that, it's only MechaGodzilla doing the damage. That's my opinion. Either way, I like the scene. I like the theme that's going on in the background. I really like MechaGodzilla's theme in the movie, but it's not officially posted anywhere, so the only place you can listen to it on is that soundtrack, and then a couple small snippets here and there, and a couple of the other ones that's officially posted. And the whole Final Battle soundtrack is just kind of mid. But anyways, sorry about the random tangent. MechaGodzilla is just weak. He's arguably the weakest MechaGodzilla ever. Maybe you can include, maybe I guess the game versions are a little bit stronger since he's stronger than the game version since they only destroy buildings and stuff like that. But a few of the games have some crazy scaling. MechaGodzilla is just, he's overrated because of what he does on screen, but yet people ignore what's on screen. And then also they ignore, the lore, canon statements. They take statements from like third to fourth party sources that isn't official in any way at all. Most of it is toy marketing, which every single movie they say Godzilla is getting stronger. So that's just a thing for toys and to sell toys and make the marketing better. Because if they say, well, he's weaker than his last form, but he's still cool, they're not gonna say that for a toy. They're gonna say it's the strongest he's ever been. He's universal. So it's more so annoying because even if you want to be nice, all right, I'll I guess fair, even though a lot of stuff disproves it, but I'll be fair and say Godzilla was only at 50% when he was fighting MechaGodzilla. That still means MechaGodzilla couldn't leave marks or very few marks on Godzilla, and his strongest attack couldn't leave a mark on Godzilla after it was amped. No matter what way you try to twist it, it's just still sad. With the feats that MechaGodzilla has, it's just still sad. Visually, it looks bad, kinda, but once you actually pay attention to the visuals, that's when you start to notice that it's really not. MechaGodzilla really ain't all that. That's just the end of the video. If you still think MechaGodzilla is strong, you're weird. That's all I gotta say. If you did like it, comment, subscribe, leave a like, do all that good stuff, and have a good one.